Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Luke here. We're going to run through how I'm going to be trading NQ the week of March 23rd to the 27th, 2026. I'm going to run through all my, how I have my charts marked out, just some potential scenarios I'm looking at. Not trying to predict what's going to happen, but just some potential scenarios, the areas I'm watching, and then we're going to go through the news day by day. I'll tell you guys how I'm approaching every single day. Before I get into it, guys, Discord's in the pinned comment. Go check that out. And Alpha Futures, best discount, whatever's available. You guys can get that with code LukeX. Make sure to go check that out. Alpha Trader, check all that out. So if you guys need accounts, run that up, and let's get right into this. So starting off here, we're going to work our way down from the higher time frame. As you can see, this monthly candle is now printing pretty bearish. We have 10 days left on this candle until it closes, and we are actually getting pretty close to this monthly for value gap down here, which could be an area to watch because, again, we do have some low resistance, higher time frame liquidity leading right into that gap. So this could be something to, pay attention to. I don't have it marked out right now. We could see a flush lower. We might not, but we'll see. Going over to the weekly, we can see that we finally broken out. We kind of broke structure down here. We broke out of this range. We inversed this weekly gap that was holding for a while right here. And as you can see, strong body on the weekly. So in terms of weekly draws and liquidity, what I have marked out is just these two sets of weekly lows right now. Again, you could mark this monthly and this weekly gap. I'm kind of just leaving it for now. We'll see what we end up doing, and I have basically marked out previous week's high. I have previous week's low. I have this weekly low, and ES swept this low. I'm going to get into that in a minute, and then we have this weekly low, and again, you could mark out, like I said, that higher time frame gap. Okay, so looking on the daily, breaking down from last week, you can see we had that bearish S&T. I think it was off these highs, and then we had another one. We had a Monday was, where was it? Monday retraced into that daily bearish for value gap. You guys remember I was talking about that that daily bearish for value gap. We obviously respected it and continued to send lower for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and obviously Friday, huge sell-off to the downside, huge bearish close. Didn't expect us to dump that aggressively. I was actually in a short in PM and caught the trade expecting it to go to previous week's low, which was right here, or not right here, sorry, up here, and or no, right here, sorry, what am I saying? And it ended up dumping like 300 points after, which is insane. I did not expect that to happen that late on a Friday, especially with the OPEX day and all that. But regardless, we could see that the daily is trending bearish, the weekly is trending bearish. We broke structure, we broke out of this range, and we're finally showing some direction in the market. Now, going over to ES, I'm going to show you my ES chart really quick. Again, kind of the same scenario. We have that monthly gap opened up down here. And leading into that gap, we see that we got a strong weekly bearish close. And as you can see, ES took this weekly low, NQ never did. Now, I'm not really eyeing this right now as an SMT. You could just keep an eye on it, but what I'm viewing this as that ES is just kind of leading the way down, and it's going to continue bearish. So you don't want to just say, oh, ES swept the low, NQ did, and it's going to reverse. It's an SMT. You want to look at it like ES is leading, and it just happened to take out that low before NQ. But just keep it marked out just in case we do see a lower time frame reversal. You can see that we just got a nice rejection on the hourly. We actually got a nice bullish close here going into the end of Friday. So it's just something to kind of mark out. But basically for ES, what I have marked out is obviously previous week's high. We have this daily fair value gap right here. We have previous week's low. We have this small set of daily lows right here. And then we have this other set of weekly lows, again, resting right above that weekly, monthly fair value gap, okay? Going back over to NQ now, we can see that they're pretty much in the same thing. ES just led bearish a little bit more. You can see what I have marked out right now is previous week's high, previous week's low. We have this very, very small daily fair value gap. It's really like nothing, but I just marked it out anyway. It's a really small gap, but ES has that gap as well. We have this weekly low, which is the one that ES swept. This is the low from Tuesday, the beginning of September. And then we have this weekly low down here. So bias for the week is obviously leaning more bearish. We just broke out of, a range that's been going on for months. We finally closed bearish outside. So I'm personally expecting a bearish. I have a bearish bias. Does that mean I'm opposed to taking longs? No, I'm looking for trades on the lower time frame. So personally for me, I'm willing to trade either way depending on what the lower time frame gives me. But basically what I'm looking at right now, my main sell side target is going to be previous week's low. Why? Because it's the closest one. It's the most attainable one. So I really want to see what happens, first of all, off this potential SMT in quotes right here. We could see potentially, if you go to the 4 hour, we do have some gaps right here on the 4 hour. We have this gap and this gap. If you overlap them, this could be an area we could see price come into and then potentially see, a reversal, or we could see price come into those gaps right here and continue to push to the upside. So this could be an interesting area that I'd personally be watching. You could see we have this 4-hour gap and this 4-hour gap. And these can be areas where we can kind of set conditions. Whereas if we see price come up into this gap and reject, then we're obviously going to be looking lower. But if price wants to come up and flip this gap, then I'd be looking to see it come into this daily gap and potentially trade higher from there. So this is going to be a really crucial kind of condition that we want to see how price reacts off it at the beginning of the week, if that makes sense. So how am I looking at this, right? So my main areas that I'm watching right now for buy side is going to be these 2 4-hour gaps that are overlapped, and my main sell side target is going to be previous week's low. So again, what I'm doing, I'm going to see if price can potentially, and we also have this 4-hour gap. I forgot to mention this one. So just this whole kind of area right here, if you just kind of mark this whole area out, we want to see price come into these imbalances on the 4-hour, and we want to just see what price wants to do, okay? If price wants to come into here and reject, then what am I doing? I'm looking for previous week's low, right? If price wants to come up, trade above this, we start showing bullish momentum, we're just strong bullish, then what am I doing? I'm looking for price to trade higher. Now, this is the scenario at the beginning of the week. Now, as the week progresses, we're obviously going to be trading away from here. So what am I doing? I'm going to be paying close attention, obviously, to our main buy side draw, which is going to be up here, which is going to be obviously that daily gap, but more importantly, kind of these 4-hour highs, because these are the highs that push price down. And main sell side target is going to be previous week's low. Now, I'm looking for reactions at these levels, right? If price comes down and we sweep previous week's low, this is a crucial area, what I'm looking for. If price wants to show strength back to the upside, this is where I'm expecting price to push up from previous week's low. But if we displace past previous week's low, I'm looking for continuations to that other weekly low. And if we displace past that, what am I looking for? Continuations to the next draw on liquidity. So it's really going to depend on what happens after we take previous week's low. So once again, price comes into here. This is our bear scenario. It rejects. We go around. We trade towards previous week's low. From previous week's low, we can either see, boom, reversal back to the upside, or we want to see what happens below previous week's low. If we get down to previous week's low and we continue to displace lower, I'm looking for those weekly lows. If we continue to displace past those weekly lows, what am I looking for? Continuations to the next set of weekly lows. So that's how I'm personally playing things in terms of bearish. Okay, this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking for this and then wait for it to see what happens here. If we continue, we just look for lower. This, if we look sweep previous week's low, we look for reversal, boom. That's what I'm looking for. Now let's flip over to bullish, right? If we start to trade above these imbalances right here, we're clearly showing that the bears are getting taken over, the bulls, are stepping in. What I'm looking for is price to continue to this daily gap. And if we start trading above these 4-hour highs, we displace above those highs. What am I looking for? I'm looking for price to continue all the way up to previous week's high. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not sure. You never know with this price action, especially what's going on with the news. But this is my bullish scenario. I won't really flip bullish until we start trading above these highs right here and this daily gap, but more importantly these 4-hour highs, because these are the highs that made the low, if that makes sense. The lower high, lower low, right? So scenario number one, we see price here, we look for previous week's low, we wait for a reaction off of previous week's low. I'm favoring a move lower, but again, I could be wrong. You never know what's going to happen. If we start showing bullish momentum, we start trading to the upside. I'm looking for price to trade towards these highs, and if we displace past these highs, I'm looking for continuations at that point all the way up to previous week's highs. So key points here. We're watching this imbalanced price action right here. We're seeing how price reacts to it. We're watching our main sell side draw, and we're watching our main buy side draws. And that's pretty much it. This is all I have marked down on my charts. Really nothing complicated. We're just looking at simple price action and also keeping an eye on this kind of potential SMT, again in quotes. We'll see what happens with that. But anyway, that's my plan for this week. I'm going to go through the news every single day, day by day. There's really nothing crazy this week. I already glanced at it. So starting on Monday, we have no news. I'll be trading on Monday, just de-risking because I want to save some capital for the rest of the week. I usually just like to de-risk, knock out some winning days on my accounts. But if there's a clean setup, then I'll go full risk. But other than that, I'll be trading normally on Mondays. I don't skip no news Mondays. I find great trades usually on Mondays. Going over to Tuesday, we have Flash at 9:45, and then we have some orange folder at 10. But the way I trade Flash, basically, since it's at 9:45, and a lot of people forget about Flash, basically what I do is I try to look for a market open trade, like a Judas swing type of like 931, 932 play. And if I don't catch anything at market open, I wait for 945 news, I wait for flash to play out, and then I look for a trade around that macro time around 950 once kind of direction's been established, and then I look to trade. But Tuesday is going to be a normal trading day, pretty much just being aware of that news. It usually won't do a lot, but still, just if it's like 940, you might as well just wait for it type thing. So this will be a normal trading day. On Tuesday, going over to Wednesday, no major news. This will be middle of the week, normal trading day. This will be fine to trade. Thursday, unemployment claims, normal trading day at market open, and then same thing on Friday. We literally have nothing. So no major news this week. We got no CPI, no FOMC, none of that stuff. So we don't have to really worry about anything crazy. Should be a solid week. We'll see what happens, but we'll see what happens like early on in the week. We'll see what direction we pick. I'm leaning more bearish, willing to trade either way, obviously, because I'm not like a swing trader. But these are the higher time frame draws I have marked out. Kind of what I'm looking at in terms of like when I zoom out and I'm looking from the higher time frame down. This is what I'm looking at. So that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until the next one, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.